Hey, it's Jamie, and today I'm going to teach you how to make salsa chicken. That's Rudy. So, salsa chicken is a really good dinner, and most every dinner that I make is really easy. And salsa chicken is a great meal when you've had a bad day. Today it's really rainy out, so it's a perfect day for salsa chicken. My family and I think of it as comfort food. So the first thing you're going to do when you make salsa chicken is you're going to take boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and it's up to you how many you need. I tend to overcook because I like to have leftovers the next day. So there's 2 of us, and I cut up maybe 4 full chicken breasts. And when I think of 1 chicken breast, I think of it like this is 1, not this is 1. The butcher sometimes will say this is 1. I do 1, 2. So I did 4. And you can see when I cut it up, I cut it into cubes. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take taco seasonings, any kind that you want. I always go mild. And you're just going to take the taco seasonings and pour it all over the raw chicken. And then you're going to mix it up. And you just mix it until the taco seasonings is coated on all the chicken. So you just keep going. You don't want any raw chicken. It's got to all be covered in the taco seasonings. Okay. Once that's done, you can cover it and put it in the fridge, or if you're cooking it right away like I am, you could just leave it out. So I'm going to put that to the side. The next thing that you need for the salsa chicken is you're going to cook rice, but I like to also steam broccoli while I'm cooking the rice. I'm a big believer in don't overspend on your kitchen tools, so we don't own like a vegetable steamer. We double use everything. So I like to use a strainer as a vegetable steamer, and you'll see I'm going to just place it right here while the rice cooks. Sometimes it'll boil up into the vegetables, but that doesn't matter, it just gives it flavor. So that's where I'm going to cook the rice in a second. So I'll turn on the burner to low. It's not going to work. I'll turn on the burner to low, and I have 2 cups of water, 1 cup of rice, and I threw in like a half a tablespoon of butter. It's up to you. You don't have to use butter if you don't want to, but I like it because it gives it flavor. And rice is really easy because you really don't have to do much. You just pour it in. Mix it up a little bit. In a little while, I'll add salt and pepper, but for now, that's all you need to do. And then we're just gonna leave it alone. While we leave that alone, I'm gonna take the broccoli. There's 2 of us tonight, so I don't need a ton of broccoli. But again, this is one of those things, if you overcook it, you can have it for lunch the next day. So I'm gonna take the larger broccoli, and I'm just gonna take my knife and chop all the heads off. The heads have the best flavor, and they get crunchy and it's easy. So I'm just gonna chop off all the heads. Now, once the heads are chopped, you can see some of it gets stuck together. So you just take your knife and kind of separate it a little bit. You can chop them further to chop the stems. Most of the nutrients are in the heads anyway, so you're better off just chopping these stems off. Okay. So now I'm going to take my strainer and I'm going to place it right on top, and then I'm going to load it up with this broccoli. On the broccoli, I'm going to pour a little bit of olive oil, and because it's on the strainer, this is going to kind of drip into the rice, which is fine because that's just going to give it an even tastier flavor. So you just pour a little, and then we're also going to add a little bit of salt to the broccoli. Not a ton because you really don't need so much. A little bit of salt. I like kosher salt because it's a little chunkier. And a little bit of pepper. If you want maximum flavor, you can also squeeze a lemon, but I don't feel like it's necessary with this recipe because the rest of the dish is going to have a lot of flavor. Then I take the top And I just stick it on top of the strainer. If you don't have a top, you can just wrap it in tin foil and stab some holes in it. Everything should be easy when you cook. You don't need to have everything perfect. So now it's time to make the salsa chicken. This does not need to marinate. It's not a marinade. It's just a dry taco seasoning. So it literally is ready to go now. I'm gonna put in my pan. Like I said in my shrimp scampi video, I always keep the burners low because slow cooking is better than overcooking. So pour in a little bit of olive oil. Because you're cooking with chicken that doesn't have a lot of fat, and because my pan happens to also not have that non-stick, so it will stick to my pan, I kind of overdo it with the oil, but olive oil is good for you. And I'm just gonna pour all the chicken in. Now I need the chicken to brown, so I'm just gonna leave it, and while I leave it, I'm gonna get ready my salsa and apricot preserves. So the apricot preserves provide a little bit of a sweetness, and they also melt and caramelize, so that's gonna really make our sauce delicious. Hey! After about 3 minutes, the chicken is already starting to brown a little bit. It doesn't need to be cooked all the way through because it will cook in the sauce, but I'm just gonna flip it, and you can see it's changed color. So I'm just gonna flip it so that the raw parts are now face down to the pan, and the cooked parts are face up. That was about 3 minutes. It doesn't take terribly long. Now's a good time to take a look at our rice. So the rice is starting to boil a little. This is a great opportunity to add the salt and pepper because now it'll really soak in. I did it earlier, but if you didn't do it in the beginning, when it's boiling is a great time. I'm just gonna shake up my broccoli a little and put it right back on and cover it with the top. You can see now if you go back to the chicken, it's all cooking. And it's actually almost ready to have the sauce. You're really just browning all the different parts. Hey, so after about 5 minutes, all the chicken has pretty much turned color on all sides. If you were to cut it open, it's probably still somewhat uncooked on the inside, but that's okay. What's important is at this point, you're gonna be tempted to add more oil because you're probably gonna feel like it's starting to stick. But if you do that, it'll be a little bit more fried, and when you start making the sauce, it'll actually be almost too much liquid and it'll sort of boil. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna start creating the sauce. I'm gonna turn my burner down to low. And then I'm gonna pour in the salsa. Now I have a whole jar of salsa here, and I go mild because between the the taco seasonings and the salsa, if you go medium for both or high for both, it's gonna burn your face off. So I'm gonna start by pouring in a jar of salsa. And then on top of that, I'm going to do about a half a jar to a quarter of a jar. You don't need a ton of this, of the apricot preserves. And like I said earlier, this is going to melt and caramelize. So you really only need about a scoop that big. See, I'm leaving some in the jar. This will melt and caramelize and create the sauce. I'm going to stir this up a bit. And you see how this is still not melted? That's okay. You break it up a little, you stir it in, and then you cover it. And when it's covered, it's pretty much caramelizing and melting. And this is a good time to check the rice and the broccoli. So the broccoli's finished. You can tell that it's soft and bright green. So it's done, and you can pull it off the burner now. The broccoli really only takes a couple minutes to steam. It's so easy. That's why you can do it with tin foil. You can do it with a strainer. You do not need to buy a steamer. So that's done. And now I can check on my rice. So my rice has a bit of a ways to go, and it's important with rice to cook sort of slowly, so I'm gonna cover it. It actually looks like it could use a little bit more pepper, so I think I'll add some pepper. But if you don't season it at all, that's fine too. You're gonna mix it with all these things, so that's okay. And now we just let it all cook slowly. We take our time, and in a little bit, we're gonna have a delicious meal. And this is how it's served. A scoop or two of rice, and then a scoop or two of salsa chicken, and then a couple of pieces of broccoli on top, and time for dinner.